Hi everyone, my name is Nicole, and the day I learned what betrayal costs, I didn't cry. I smiled. It started with a phone call from my father. Casual, like he wasn't about to unravel 5 years of my life. Hope you're enjoying Greece, he said. Don't worry about the project. We've handled it. I frowned. Handled what? He hesitated. Then the sentence that still rings in my head. We sold your app. It was the only way to help your sister. My stomach dropped. The app, my dream project, wasn't just code. It was the idea I built from sleepless nights, unpaid internships, and every penny I'd saved. Sold it. I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. To who? He cleared his throat. A private investor. We needed to pay off your sister's debts. 314,000. You understand, family first. Family first. The same phrase they'd used when they emptied my college fund for her wedding, when they skipped my graduation for her baby shower. I ended the call before my voice cracked. The Aegean Sea sparkled outside my hotel window. Calm, beautiful, cruelly indifferent. They'd sold my dream for someone else's mistake. When I returned home 2 weeks later, they were waiting. My dad, my mom, and my sister Lily, sipping wine in the living room like nothing had happened. Lily laughed. Hey superstar. Heard you're jobless now. Guess I'm the breadwinner. Dad smirked. Don't take it personally, sweetheart. You're young, you'll build something else. I stood in the doorway, suitcase still in hand, the weight of their words sinking in. Then I did something none of them expected. I smiled. Lily frowned. What's so funny? I looked at them one by one, the people who thought they'd destroyed me, and said quietly, nothing. Just thinking how expensive your lesson's about to be. They laughed again, confused. But deep down I was already rewinding to the part they didn't know. The dream project they sold was only version 1. The real one, the patent-protected AI-integrated version, was still mine. And I was about to make sure they found out the hard way. They thought they'd cashed me out. They thought the photo of a check and a signature in Dad's email was the end of my story. They were wrong. While they toasted with cheap champagne and posted congratulations on Facebook, I did what I'd been doing for years. I planned for the worst and built defenses no one ever saw. You don't build something fragile on trust. You build it with locks. Before I left for Greece, I moved the Heart of Dream project off of my dad's family server and onto my own encrypted cluster. Hidden, redundant, under a company name that wasn't shouted at the dinner table. I registered the patent under a holding LLC in my middle name, the one Dad always thought was just a formality. I routed escrow through an international firm so any unilateral transfer would trigger audits and verifications. Most importantly, I kept the live algorithm, the AI core that made Dream Project work. The thing investors pay fortunes for, running behind API keys I controlled. They had the demo. The glossy PDF. The investor who bought version 1 had a pretty front end and a list of users. They didn't have the engine. So when they laughed in my living room and called me jobless, I smiled because I knew what would happen next. I watched their smug posts, Lily tagging friends, she's starting over. Dad bragging about the quick sale that saved the family. It was theater. I had front row seats. That night I sent 2 emails. One to the investor who thought he'd bought innovation. Short. Professional. Transfer agreement review. As per clause 14.2, full IP transfer requires signature of all controlling entities. Please confirm proof of transfer of backend keys and API tokens. The other went to my small list of beta users and partners. We're relaunching Dream Project, version 2.0, under Hartwell Labs. Expect migration instructions and data continuity guarantees within 48 hours. Then I slept. Not with fear but with a plan. When they woke up to headlines about legal freezes and a migration notice that offered every user a better, faster, secure platform, many would click the button to move. The investor would see that his purchased front had no value without the engine. Contracts signed by Dad would unravel under audit. They called. They texted. They threatened. I answered none of it. Because I didn't need to scream. I just needed to flick the switch I had always owned. And when the first dozen users migrated, the laughter in Dad's living room started to feel very small. By morning the numbers were already climbing. I sat at my desk, coffee in hand, watching the dashboard on my laptop come alive. 1,240 users migrated. Then 2,500. Then 4,000. Every click was proof that my dream was still mine. and that their betrayal had only accelerated my rise. The investor who bought my sold project sent the first panicked email. Subject: urgent, platform malfunction. The code is non-functional. Payment systems have collapsed. Where are the active licenses? I smiled. The active licenses were encrypted tokens linked to my private server, the one registered under Hartwell Labs. Without my authorization key, the platform was nothing but a hollow shell. At 11:14 a.m., Dad called. He didn't sound angry this time, he sounded scared. Reina, you need to fix this. They're saying it's fraud. I kept my voice calm. You mean you're fraud? Watch your tone, young lady. That project was in my house. My property. Correction, I said. It was on your Wi-Fi. That's not ownership, that's bad parenting with internet access. He sputtered. You're ruining this family. No, Dad, I whispered. You ruined it the day you decided my dreams were collateral. I hung up and opened my inbox. Dozens of venture capital firms were already contacting Hartwell Labs, intrigued by the sudden attention. They didn't care about the scandal. They cared about results. And results were exactly what I had. That evening, Lily showed up at my apartment, mascara smudged, voice trembling. They froze Dad's accounts. They're threatening to sue. You have to help. I looked at her, the sister who once laughed about my useless little startup. You didn't mind when they sold me out, I said softly. Now you want me to save you? Tears welled in her eyes. You can't do this to family. I stood meeting her gaze. You're right. I'm not doing this to family. I'm doing this for me. Behind her, the city lights flickered. And for the first time they looked like freedom, not distance. By the end of the week, the fallout was public. Headlines everywhere. Investor loses millions in tech deal gone wrong. Founder of Hartwell Labs revealed as original creator of Dream Project. Screenshots of my patent filings circulated online. My name in bold, my logo watermarked across the documents. The same project they sold to cover Lily's debt now had an estimated valuation of $8.2 million. Dad's business partners withdrew overnight. Lily's luxury apartment lease was terminated. And Elise, my stepmother, deleted her Facebook account after her "proud of my genius daughter" post turned into a comment war she couldn't control. The irony was beautiful and brutal. I hadn't ruined them. They'd simply stepped on a landmine they built themselves. That morning my father showed up at my office. Uninvited, exhausted, eyes sunken from sleepless nights. Reina, he said quietly, I didn't know they'd twist it. I thought I could fix it before you found out. Before I found out? I repeated, leaning back in my chair. Dad, you signed the transfer. You laughed when I came home. He rubbed his forehead. I panicked. Lily was drowning and You sold the lifeboat to save the anchor, I said coldly. He looked at me, the weight of shame pressing down on his once proud shoulders. I never meant to hurt you. I sighed, the anger fading into something quieter. Fatigue maybe. I know. But intent doesn't erase consequence. He blinked as if expecting forgiveness. Instead, I slid a document across the table. A formal revocation letter. I bought the company back legally, I said. And I made one small update to the investor report. He frowned. What update? That every future sale requires signatures from all shareholders. I smiled faintly. Don't worry, Dad, you're not one of them. He stared silent. Then finally whispered, You've changed. No, I said, standing. You just never saw me clearly before. As he left, I watched his reflection disappear in the glass wall. And for the first time I didn't feel like the daughter he lost. I felt like the woman I became because of it. The silence after my father left wasn't empty. It was clean. Like a space finally free of smoke after a fire. For days the media frenzy spun on its own. Commentators argued whether I'd outsmarted my family or betrayed them. But the truth was simpler. I'd stopped being collateral damage in someone else's chaos. Dream Project 2.0 officially launched under Hartwell Labs that Friday. Within 12 hours, tech blogs called it a masterclass in ethical innovation. Partnership requests flooded in. I didn't throw a party. I just sat by the big window in my new office, the city humming below, and whispered, Mom, I did it. She would have laughed, not at the revenge but at the irony. All those nights she told me, Reina, don't fight people. Let your work speak louder. Finally did. That week I reopened the company's hiring portal. Not for developers or designers, for interns. Girls in their 20s, eager but overlooked. The ones who reminded me of who I used to be when no one took me seriously. Our first meeting was small. 10 women, 1 coffee pot, a single whiteboard. I told them the truth. You'll have people try to sell what you build. You'll have people call your dreams naive. But when they do, remember this. Ideas can be stolen, but vision can't. They nodded, eyes wide, taking notes like it was gospel. That night, Lily texted me. They're losing everything. You got what you wanted. Happy now? I stared at the message for a long time before replying. No, Lily. I didn't want you to lose anything. I just wanted you to see what you took for granted. There was no reply. I locked my phone and looked around at the quiet, humming office, the one that bore my name on the glass door. They had tried to take my dream. Instead, they handed me proof of my worth. 2 months later, I got a call from Dad's lawyer. He said my parents were being forced to sell the house. The same one they mortgaged to fund Lily's lifestyle and the debts that started all of this. They needed a buyer fast. I should have hung up. But curiosity and closure are stubborn things. Send me the paperwork, I said. An hour later, the documents arrived. Price: $315,000. $1,000 more than Lily's debt. Poetic, really. The next morning, Hartwell Labs purchased it, quietly through a holding company. When the ink dried, I owned the house I'd once been told I could never afford. A week later, I drove there, not to gloat but to finish something. The walls were bare. The echoes of laughter that once mocked me were gone. I walked into my old room, the one where Dream Project was born, and stood where my desk used to be. For years I'd felt small in that space. Now it felt like history, like something I'd outgrown. When Dad came by to collect the last of their boxes, he froze seeing me there. You bought it, he said flatly. Yes, I replied. It seemed like the only thing left worth saving. He looked down, shame replacing the arrogance that once filled his voice. What will you do with it? I smiled softly. Turn it into a workspace for girls with ideas. Ones nobody believes in, yet. He nodded, eyes glistening. Your mother would be proud. For once I believed him. As he left, I stood by the window, sunlight pouring through the empty room. The place that once witnessed my humiliation was now my victory ground. Some revenge burns things down. Mine built something new in the ashes. And when I locked the door behind me, I didn't feel like I'd taken something from them. I'd simply taken back what was always mine. A few weeks later, construction began on the old Cole family house. Fresh paint, new wiring, glass walls where old ones once blocked out light. Neighbors stopped by, curious. Are you renovating to sell? One asked. I smiled. No. I'm rebuilding to share. By summer, the house had transformed into a creative workspace. Bright desks, laptops humming, motivational notes pinned to cork boards. Above the door, a small plaque read, "The Dream Space, built from what they said wasn't possible." Our first group of interns arrived that Monday. Girls from small towns, scholarships in hand, eyes full of hope. They looked around in awe, and one of them whispered, "This place feels safe." That word hit me harder than I expected. Safe. Something I'd never associated with this house. As they settled in, I walked through each room, memories flickering like old film reels. Dad's voice echoing, Lily's laughter, Mom's quiet presence in the background. But now the sound that filled these walls was typing, brainstorming, laughter. Creation, not control. Later that afternoon, Dad showed up unannounced. He stood outside the gate, watching through the glass, hands tucked in his pockets. I met him halfway. He gestured toward the house. It's beautiful. Yeah, I said softly. It finally feels alive. He looked at me for a long moment, then said something I never thought I'd hear. I was wrong. There was no excuse, no justification, just those 3 words. And somehow that was enough. I know, I said quietly. We both learned. He nodded once, then left without another word. I didn't call him back. I didn't need to. That night, as the last light flickered through the glass, I realized the revenge was never the point. It was the rebuilding. They'd sold my dream once. Now it had a door, a name, and a heartbeat. And every time someone new walked through it, I remembered I didn't lose anything. I just transformed it. It was nearly midnight when the last light in the dream space went out. The interns had gone home, the whiteboards were covered in sketches, and the house, my house, was alive in a way it had never been before. I sat in what used to be my old bedroom, now a quiet office with warm lamps and floor-to-ceiling shelves of notebooks. On the desk lay a single piece of stationery. At the top I wrote, "Dear Reina, age 22. My hand trembled but I kept writing. You'll spend years believing that love means sacrifice. That being good means being silent. You'll call it loyalty. They'll call it convenience. You'll pour yourself into dreams no one believes in, and they'll sell them without blinking. You'll think that's the end." A tear slid onto the page, smudging the ink, but I didn't stop. "But listen, one day you'll learn that losing everything isn't punishment. It's permission. Permission to start again, not smaller but stronger. The project they sold won't die. It'll evolve just like you will." Outside, the streetlights glowed against the glass, the hum of the city soft and distant. "You won't get the apology you deserve. You won't get the recognition you earned right away. But you'll get peace, and that will be enough. You'll rebuild your dream into something they can never buy. Purpose." I folded the letter carefully and slid it into an envelope labeled "Keep for the days you doubt." Then I leaned back, looking around the room. The walls that once held my silence now held possibility. Every lamp, every desk, every notebook. Funded not by vengeance but by vision. I whispered into the stillness. "You did it. Not for revenge. Not for validation. But for every version of me that once wondered if I'd ever stand again." Outside, dawn began to rise, soft, gold, quiet. And I smiled, finally understanding the truth. They hadn't destroyed my dream. They'd defined it,